Welcome to the 903 podcast. This week, I sat down with Cherika Johnson of East Texas Real Producers Magazine. We talked about her journey into real estate brokerage and how it led her to build community and showcase the living, breathing human being behind the real estate business. Here's what's happening in the 903. Welcome back to the 903 podcast. I'm Andrew Dannington, your host. Tonight we come to you from the Young building here in Tyler, and thanks so much for their hospitality and letting us film here and kind of set up our new little home. Thanks, Waylon, for setting this up for us and carrying all these pallets up the stairs and all that good stuff. And thanks so much to our sponsors. We really appreciate you guys. Without you, we wouldn't be able to create this content and help our local entrepreneurs and nonprofits have this time to kind of promote themselves and their business and give depth to what they do. Tonight we have Cherika Johnson, who is a real estate broker here locally, but I was more intrigued in your magazine. You are the publisher and the owner of the East Texas Real Producers magazine here in Tyler, Longview.
Well, I'm out of Longview because that's where I live, but it incorporates Tyler as well.
Okay.
So,
the 903.
903, absolutely.
Right. Cool. So you haven't been in real estate forever, right?
It feels like it, but not forever.
Right. So prior to that, you worked for the Attorney General office and felt compelled to kind of pivot from that after 7 years of working there into real estate.
Yes.
Walk us through kind of what you guys were thinking about when you were thinking about moving to real estate.
Well, at the time, what we were thinking about, my husband and I, my boys, I have 3 boys. One of them at the time was travel basketball. And yes, he traveled during the weekends, but the evenings he had practice. And so my husband was working a job where he couldn't help me in that department. Then I had my second child that was coming up. He was into basketball as well, but he was also into baseball. And baseball is every day. Like you could have a tournament on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night and it's in Dallas. So my husband and I made the decision that I could pivot from that into real estate, because with real estate, I didn't have to punch a clock per se. It was working on my own time, and it enabled me to have that flexibility to travel with the boys and allowed them to, I could still be mom, they could still travel with their sports, and I'm not one where I'm just gonna stay home. I have to do something, right? So real estate allowed me to still have a career, but still be a flexible mom and wife for my husband and my kids.
Right, so what were some of the factors that you guys weighed out to
For him, it was definitely the set income.
Yeah, I mean, so like 2007, you're walking into that business,
right?
And then you have the bubble that happens,
and that was right before that. So
yeah.
when I walked into real estate, didn't know the bubble was coming, and it was a year into my career that bubble happened, and luckily I was disciplined enough to weather it. I did some things I didn't do that I should have done, but that bubble also taught me that it was time to start using systems and being consistent with my business so that I could survive what 2008 gave us.
Yeah.
And luckily I was able to do that because I took care of it on the front end and I learned all I could. It was still hard, but it enabled me to weather it and still come out on the other side of that time.
I mean, I'm just talking about recent times. During COVID times, we had a lot of people all of a sudden think real estate is where I wanted to be because the market was super hot.
Right.
But what are some things that folks that are considering getting into that business, it's not easy.
It's not what the reality shows show you. They're not showing you a big picture of
You're
that.
talking about flexibility, but at the same token, there's a lot of hours worked. and undesirable times,
it's
right?
flexibility plus discipline. Like
Yeah.
you can have all the time in the world, but if you're not disciplined with that time, you will find yourself binging shows on Netflix or whatever. So I think it's the flexibility plus understanding that if I don't work, I don't eat. It makes you, not just sit around and wait on the business to come. Now there are some agents that think that because I saw it on the reality show, it's supposed to be easy. All I need to do is get a license and the money is going to fall.
Right.
They're in for a rude awakening, because this is true hustle. This is get at it, go get it, because it's not going to necessarily come to you. Like, you have to do all the things. In 2007, when I started, we didn't have social media like we do now. Like, we had it, it was coming up, but agents weren't there yet. We were in the newspaper. We were making sure our picture was in the newspaper on Sunday, so that because that was where we were finding our clients. And it wasn't until later that we had to start to, we were scared of it. Like, I know I was. Like, I had Facebook probably a year before I started using Facebook, because I was fighting it. I was like, no, I'm going to stick with what I was taught and what I learned when I got in. I had to pivot and start going where everybody else was, or I was going to get left behind, and everybody else was on social media. So you have different aspects and components of real estate, but it still does not. It's not the end all be all. I can't just post and just sit around and wait on the phone to ring. There is some action that agents have to do in order to get that phone to ring. The social media part is just one component of it. It's a good agent is going to be getting the education as well, not just to renew the license. Like, they are investing in their business by learning everything that brings value to their clients. So in the beginning, because I'm a learner, I love, consuming knowledge. I was learning those things and taking those classes. And when we talk about the brokerage part of it, I didn't get into that side of getting my broker's license wanting to open up my own business. I had taken all the classes and I was like, well, why not? I mean, I have everything I need.
All the prerequisites were lined up.
That's right. So I might as well get that before they move the bar on how to get your broker's license. So because I was a student and I was always learning my craft, it enabled me to have the necessary things that I needed to go into the brokerage part of it.
Yeah, so that's a big jump between, there's not a lot of agents that take that step. And like you said, some of that is probably the classes and being able to pass those things and understanding dynamics and also earning, I'm assuming. Like, walk us through kind of how an agent turns into a broker.
Okay.
And then you make the decision at some point to just say, you know what, I'm going to do it myself, which is another big step, because there's no more umbrella.
Right.
There's a parachute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
So at the time that I got my broker's license, which I received my broker's license in 2016.
Okay.
I had to obtain your license. You have to have so many years of real estate at that time, because they keep changing the rules. Remember, I keep telling you that. So I had to have so many hours of on-the-job training, basically, so many transactions.
Yeah.
Plus, I had to have. It helped if you had a college degree, which I had, and those two things: your years in business, your number of transactions, your education. They go by a point system, and it all adds up to where if you qualify, you go sit for the test. You sit for the test and pass it, you get your broker's license. So in essence, that's how it came about. And like I was saying before, I had all those things, and I was like, well, why not add another component for my clients? Like, I just wanted the title, because I felt like it gave me more visibility, more clout, having the brokerage behind my name. And like I said, things happened, and before I knew it, I was opening my own brokerage, but that was not the intent when I originally received the license.
Yeah. So that happens in 2016, and then obviously the market gets super hot.
It did.
And which was super beneficial to the real estate market. You already had your brokerage. At what point after 2016 did you have agents that worked for you, or?
I think my first agent came about probably a year or so after I was, and it may not have been that long, but it started a year after I got, because I went in and said I didn't want agents. Like I was like, I just want to be a sole agent and just, be able to broker my deals.
Broker all of them.
But when my phone rings and, people are asking me, I really want to come work with you, I didn't want to turn them down.
Yeah.
So before I knew it, I started again doing the very thing I wasn't going to do, like wasn't going to go out on my own. There I am, wasn't going to take agents, but there I was. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to train new agents because there was a point in time where there were things that I needed as a new agent. And I internalized that and I said, well, why don't I be the broker that I wanted for me when I started?
Yeah.
And these were new agents that were coming to me. So I thought this is a great opportunity to train somebody up and give them everything that I wish I had when I was starting as a new agent.
What are some of those things? Like when you come into the business, do you see, some people are just going to be driven because of their background, their experiences. Some people are going to be possibly naive to how things work. Or they may not be as motivated financially because of their support system. What are some things that people need to know that are pitfalls or maybe some setbacks that you had, and then maybe some of the things that were successes for you. I know that I hired an agent and then it was not successful. We were selling a property that I needed to get, because I had 2 properties at the time and I needed to get one off the books, and I hired the person that we ended up buying the house for them originally, and they just weren't as aggressive as I would have hoped. And so I hired another guy, and his stick was he would drive around all the city, not this city, another city, and he would just look for homes for sale by owner, and that was his thing.
That's his niche,
and that was his, and he'd knock on doors and introduce himself, and then he would introduce his software. He had a software where if somebody called, it automatically would, log that call, so that way, even if they called and it was, they didn't mean to, he still had the number, you know what I mean? So but anyway, I'm kind of going off the rails a little bit, but what are some things that were setbacks or things that you've seen over the years that you're like, okay, these are some things that new agents need to know, or that the successful ones do, or the ones that kind of
Right. For me, it was definitely, the number one thing was the mentorship, the coaching, and not knocking on any broker that I've ever worked with, because I had some great brokers, but there were a lot that gave me empty promises. That I wanted a mentor so bad, and they would tell me that they would give me a mentor to lure me from one broker to theirs, and I'd get there and I'd be in a room by myself with nobody, not getting what I had been promised. And again, not all of them were like that. I'm just saying there was, some that I remember right in the beginning that, I moved because I was craving that coaching and direction and guidance, because I'm new, like never went into sales, because again, I came from the Attorney General's, there was no selling there. So I wanted to know what it is that I needed to be doing. I wanted someone to kind of take my hand like I saw, other agents getting. I wasn't getting that. So that kind of is what pushed me to study and take all the training and the classes, because I didn't feel like I was getting that from where I was.
Yeah, if you were more informed than maybe another agent.
Right. So since I wasn't getting the mentorship that I thought I should, I took it in my own hands. I bet on myself, and I started taking extra classes here, studying what I wanted to know, taking the classes that would help me be a better salesman, a better person. And I was given advice by, some friends when I first started, some other agents, and they would tell me, you need to get more involved. Like if you're trying to increase your circle, increase your sphere, you need to, get involved in different activities. And of course, they told me it was my fault that I didn't listen. Well, in that 2008 bubble, that's where that hurt. Because when I started out, I was great. Like I was a go-getter. I had business. I didn't have the, they teach you in real estate, courses that, make sure you have the 6 months of reserve put aside, which that is important. That's one thing I would tell agents, because getting into the business, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
With your license, joining all the boards that you have to join, and those are coming out each month, however you have it set up, whether you have a closing or not. So having that cushion is most important. So I feel like if I had listened to some great advice that some great realtors, they were realtors then, they're brokers now, and we're still great friends in the business. But if I had listened, joined the organizations that were going to put me out there in front of people, because I was a serious introvert, believe it or not, I feel like when that 2008 bubble hit, even though it didn't hurt me where it put me out of business, it definitely slowed me down.
Yeah.
But had I taken that advice from those agents, I feel like I would have come through it a little cleaner than what I did, because I took some bruises back in 2008. So I wanted that type of things, those things that I was taught. I wanted to make sure that with somebody coming under me, I was teaching those same things that I missed out on.
Right.
You know, and I had the lessons. I was able to say, because I didn't listen, this is what happened, you know. So a lot of people, they want to learn from experience, and they want to hear your story and how you did it and how you navigated. So I tell them the truth. Even with new agents coming in, I tell them, don't expect the phone to ring just because you say I'm a realtor. And a lot of agents think, oh, well, everybody knows I'm a realtor, but not all the time. Like, they're not thinking about you every day. You're thinking about you, but everybody else is not. So you have to do the work to make sure that people are still remembering that you're a realtor. They'll hear you at that moment when you say it, and they'll quickly forget about you, especially if you're not constantly in their face with your marketing.
Right.
And so when they're ready to buy, you know, it may be 2 or 3 years later, they're going, now, who do I know that's a realtor? Because you said it one time back here 2 years ago, and you're expecting them to remember, and that's not how it works. So my job is to kind of coach agents along. I can't teach you motivation, because you need to have that on your own.
Right.
But if you're motivated and you're wanting to know what it is that you need to do, that's one of the things that I wanted for my agent, because I was hungry. I like everything you're telling me, I'm going to take it and soak it in. I didn't do it when they told me to, but by God, I learned after that 2008 bubble. I got back in there. And not that I was out, but I'm just saying, you know, it would kind of put all of us down. But once things rose back up, I got in there and I did everything they told me to do, and things started to change for me when I put in the work. You know, not putting in the work is going to get me nothing. But when I put in the work, that's when things are going to turn around for me. So my goal is to teach new agents those things, learn from those mistakes that I made in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think the accreditations and those speak to a lot of confidence in your, and then you're able to speak around legalities and like you said, how your customers can best benefit from your services, right? And something I didn't realize, and this is only just from knowing, being friends with a couple of agents, is how much expense is on the front side that people don't realize is, you know, we talk a lot about the you know, if you have a quick sale and it's like, oh, well, you know, there wasn't a lot of work there done. Well, yeah, but how many listings did I do where I spent for drone photos
Gas.
and for pictures, and then MLS listing, which is not free, and then like
the marketing, you know,
monthly and yearly.
It is monthly, it's quarterly expenses, and that's due whether you have a closing or not. Right. And then most of the time when you do, especially as a new agent, by the time you do get that first commission, you've spent most of that money already. So a lot of people think, oh, I got a commission, but somebody's got their hand out that was due back then.
Signage and all that.
All of it. And you know, if you want to pay extra for your SEO optimization, you know, you're paying, that's not free. You know, so you're putting money, you're investing in your real estate career, and that's not cheap. And so a lot of people don't know that. They think, I'm going to get my license and I'm going to start making money, not knowing that you're spending money before you even receive a commission.
And then on top of that, you know, before there's certain thresholds, and I'm sure every brokerage is a little bit different.
It is.
But, you know, where, you know, you're closing a certain amount at a certain percentage, and once you land there, then it changes. So if during the first, you know, year or so, the brokerage piece is much, their percentage is higher because their influence is higher.
Yes, that's
and
true.
you're under that, the Johnson brokerage firm, right?
And you still have to be trained as a new agent.
Absolutely.
So your percentage is a little smaller because somebody has to train you, and
that's right.
you're
and help you close.
That's
and
right.
help you not get in trouble.
That's right.
That's
right.
We don't want you to say anything, do anything,
That's
or
right. To lend
do
you
any,
or us in the courthouse.
right? Or any old documents,
That's right.
and things like that.
And there's a lot of stuff. Like, things are always changing. We just went through a big change where all of our contracts changed. So it's that stuff that you have to stay on top of, and somebody may not be prepared mentally for that. I've had agents come in that, a lot of what we do is on the computer, and it's like I felt like I had to show them how to turn on a computer.
Right.
So there's things that you still need to know, as a individual before you even come into the real estate world. Managing money is an important component of that.
Yeah.
Knowing what your tax liabilities are is an important, because it's you got to pay the tax man.
Sure.
So it's a lot of stuff that new people coming in don't know, because that reality show didn't spell that out.
Right.
They just saw them at that closing table and driving off in their vehicle, not knowing.
TikTok world.
Yes. And it's so not that.
Yeah.
And I'm the person that's going to give them the real. At one point in time, I was teaching pre-licensing classes, and that's one of the things I told my people. If you're here because of what you saw on social media, I'm going to bust that bubble right now, because that's not what this is.
Sure.
And I just tell them the real, because a lot of agents, I feel, especially the new agents that don't make it past a year, is because their expectations were not set at the very beginning. And they came in thinking this is how it's going to be, and no one told them the real. They saw a shiny new body that they could add to their,
flexible hours.
And they didn't hear that.
I can drive around with business cards.
And it's
leave
more
them at
to
apartments.
it than that. That's right. It's more to it than that. So I just tell them at the front end, I just want you to know I'm not deterring you. But I wish someone had told me the real before I got my license. I was told, you can do it. Okay, well, I like that part. I like knowing that I can do it, but what are my pitfalls? What am I looking at? And that's what I wish that people would spell out to these new agents before they go and leave their careers like I did, and then find themselves back at that career or something else.
Right. And I would imagine a broker also connects them with folks that are connected to the business. So maybe insurance agents that are have preferred rates for maybe first-time buyers, or banks, a banker that that's connected to the business, and because a lot of times you have somebody who wants to buy a house, but they're like looking ahead to see, well, I don't want the wife says, hey, I don't want to look at any houses we can't afford,
right?
And so you have to kind of like think ahead and go, okay, well, their payments motivated, or this is what we can qualify for.
Right.
This is what he's going to be comfortable with, and she is too. And there's a lot of dynamics there.
Right. That's what we're finding out usually in that first consultation. Like if you're teaching your agents to consult with these people, whether you're bringing them in your office or meeting them at the coffee shop, we need to know what their issues are. If it's payment related, if it's city related, if it's kids, and her whole thing is what school district are my kids getting in. That consultation is going to let you hear all that, so that you can hopefully take notes if you're a good agent to know, okay, this is what they're looking for. And a lot of times we are charged with sending them to the right lender that will help them in their circumstances and help also advise them on what it is that they are needing. So we have partners, in other words.
Sure.
Like,
but that's what a broker does, right? Is take your new agents and kind of help them be able to navigate some of those things.
And we're instructing them, like, where do you find those partners? Most of the time, you're going to find them at our association events, because they're wanting to be there in front of agents too. So we're helping them to not just sit at home waiting on that phone to ring, but get out and know who you can use as part of your team, because that's kind of what we call it. These are our team. These are the people that's going to help us get to the closing table, and we're very protective of those people that we call our teammates. You know, we're protective of our lender. We're protective of our home warranty rep. You know, because they're going to be a part of the people that make up everybody that we need to get our clients to the closing table.
Yeah.
So we're teaching them, you know, where to find those people, and, you know, hopefully who to stay away from if it's been a bad experience. But we're navigating, because one thing about that whole component, if the home inspector screws something up, it's not their fault. Well, it is their fault, but they're going to say it's all of our faults. It's not just that person's fault. So you have to be careful with who you link up with. You want to make sure everybody's reputable, so that we can get, the ultimate goal is to get, especially a new home buyer, get them to the closing table.
Yeah, and I kind of what I was thinking when you were talking. You know, there's a lot of people that are on I mentioned it earlier, the, you know, for sale by owner bus. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that if it all goes well.
Right.
But if it goes wrong, there's a lot of problems. And there, you know, then you end up in court. So there, you know, the benefits don't outweigh the risks in a lot of cases. And so unless you have someone that's like, hey, you know, I don't want any inspections, and, you know, it's a cash deal, fine.
But we still recommend that. We still recommend
you know, but it's like, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen
That's
wrong.
right, absolutely.
And that's why, like, it's a small price to pay for the education, the knowledge, the protection, you know, and just mentorship that you get from an agent.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that piece.
And that's true. You're absolutely right. It is a lot, and that's why the broker, you know, gets that portion, because she still has things like, you know, insurance that she has to make sure that it's covered to help with some of that, you know, some of the things that can come up that you find yourself either with a complaint or in court. There's a lot of liability there. It's not just signing papers. Those papers are legal documents for a reason, because one wrong move and you can find yourself in the courthouse.
Yeah, for sure. And now, a word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Red Construction and Development, LLC. If you are looking to build or remodel and need the highest quality, best reputation, and 3D rendering, look no further than Red Construction. Call Thomas and his team at 903-630-8660 today. This episode is sponsored by Hoot and Holler Beverage. When I think of Hoot and Holler, their selection and customer service first comes to mind. So skip the big box franchises and make the trip to Hoot and Holler in Gun Barrel City. Between barrel picks, mixers, seltzers, whatever you need for the weekend, they'll help you find it. Stop by today. Scott and team are ready. This episode is sponsored by the Humidor. If you are looking for cigars and want to enjoy a few hours in a great environment with a great staff, the Humidor should be your next stop. With their vast selection and new bar, you'll have a great time every time. This episode is sponsored by Vault Arms, the premier destination for all things firearm related. So if you're in the market for handguns, rifles, or supplies, stop by Vault Arms at 4740 South Broadway or their indoor range at 417 West Elm in Tyler. Now back to the 903 podcast. All right, so you pivot again.
I did.
In 2024, so you get through COVID, and like myself, you find yourself with no kids at home, and it's an eerie feeling. Like for us, we sent our kid to the Navy, which was pretty stressful for my wife, and for me, I was like, yes, let's do it.
Right.
Got a tattoo
Right,
and everything.
right. All in. We're all in.
Yeah. But like, you send your last boy off to New York.
Yes.
And obviously that was it was tough.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was very tough.
And and then you're kind of like,
what do I do?
yeah, like, how am I going to fill this time
That's
that
right.
you're on the road following games and, playing, part-time mom, full-time mom, full-time agent.
I mean, I wore the hat.
Yes,
I was the proud baseball mom, theater mom, football mom. I wore, like, you look in the encyclopedia, I'm that mom.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did. I took pride in it. A lot of people thought, I was living through my kids, and maybe I was. I don't know.
They're part of you.
Yeah, I'm their biggest cheerleader, but I still handled the business.
Yeah.
And I hustled during the week, and on the weekend we got to play, because I had built my business to where I could do that. I had, the respect of my clients. They knew that we better not ask her to show us something on the weekends, but if it was something like an emergency, I had agents that would fill in for me. I have a great team of agents,
awesome.
and they are always...
Yeah, between 2016 and 2024, I mean, you had 8 years to grow that business.
Yes,
and
and we're like a family. So when somebody needs somebody to step in, they just go in our group and say, who can help, show, I'm out of town. And so my agents have been very supportive of me while I've been able to be that mom for my kids. And like you said, there came a time when the last inning was played, the curtain went down, and I knew that time was coming, but didn't realize it was going to hit me the way that it did.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned before, I got into real estate for them, to allow the flexibility to be, everywhere I needed to be for them. And when I found that last kid, I left him in New York. I came home to a quiet house, and it hit like a ton of bricks. And it was like, I was getting calls for real estate. I would, give it away to an agent because I just didn't have the desire anymore, because it reminded me of that closed chapter that I was seriously mourning. I was happy that I got to experience it, but I was not taught how to navigate after they left.
And you were happy with them, finding some independence?
Very proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
But nobody taught me.
There's plenty of kids that want to stay, I'm one of them, that wanted to stay local because I had friends and I felt like I didn't want to leave them. And then later on I looked at it, I was like, man, I lost some years of experience. So like,
mine were living their best life. Like they were not, they're mama's boys through and through, but my middle son was playing college baseball at Prairie View. Yeah. And of course he graduated last year with his master's degree. Awesome. And then he decided, I'm gonna move to Austin. So he didn't even come back and stay with me long. He said, well, I'm out of here. So he went to Austin where he's doing baseball there. Awesome. And then the baby boy, he said flat out ever since he was old enough to sing that he was gonna go to New York. And I was like, yeah, okay. And a school decided to give him a scholarship to prove me wrong that he was going, and I was like, can we go? Because he got other offers for local places, and he was like, no, I always said New York, that's where I'm going. So we couldn't say no and fight him on that, and so we real estate allowed me to be able to afford to get him there. And hopefully it's going to afford me to keep him there, but for the most part, when my husband and I dropped him off in New York, my husband went about his business because he's used to me handling everything and, everything's all in place. But for me, it felt like, who needs me? Like, nobody needs me. They're all doing their own thing, and I hadn't taught myself to do that thing. And I couldn't understand why I was crying when I was so happy for them. And my husband was like, why are you crying when they're doing great things? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I am missing something. And a great broker friend of mine, she said, what's going on now? I've gone through it. You are mourning a closed chapter. And I was like, that is exactly what is going on, because I can't stop crying. I can't motivate myself to, do anything other than just sit here. I would walk in their rooms, and that's even more depressing. I would get a whiff of their clothes. That was the most
Smell their
empty feeling.
pillow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I'd wait on their phone call, and they're happy.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's like,
Sure.
and so I had to say,
Why aren't they
Cherika,
calling? Boys are worse too.
Exactly.
They don't call moms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially not the one in New York. Now, the middle one, the baseball one, he calls me, you know, and because I'll mess with him. Have you talked to your mom today?
Yeah.
He calls me more often than the New Yorker. The New Yorker is living his best life there.
Yeah.
And so when my mom would say, and she's also somebody I credit to, you know, everything that I do. She's a motivator. She says all the right things, very spiritual. And she would tell me, like, you can't do this to yourself. Like, you have to, you know, you have to find you now that they're gone, because you're no good to them in the state that you're in. And she was right. And so this opportunity came about for the magazine. And
How did it come about?
I saw the listing for it. So let me back up. I saw one of my friends that lives in the Dallas area. She was on the cover of that, and this was like years, maybe 3 years ago. And she was on the cover of this magazine, and I was like, oh, where did that come from? As a realtor, I'd never heard of that magazine. And I was like, we need that here in East Texas. And didn't think anything else of it. You know, she was so excited about being on the cover, and I looked to see what that was, and it was just a magazine just basically bragging on her and all the things that she do, like really shining a light on the good things. Promoting, And then a year later, I saw that the magazine was in East Texas. I was like, that's great. It's finally here. Didn't think anything else of it. I was like, glad that we have it. And never thought that one day I was going to step into that spot. So when I saw that listing for it and somebody approached me about it, I was like, that's great that it's here. Somebody needs to take it back over, because when the person that had it before, something happened, she got busy or whatever, and it was no longer here. And I was like, we need it back, so somebody needs to do that. But I didn't think it was going to be me. And as I had time to think, because again, I'm in these four walls mourning and grieving, I thought about it, and I was like, Cherika, why not you? You know, you've done this business at the time for 17 years. The person that did it before, she did a great job, but why not let a realtor, an actual person in the business, take over it? And so I had several rounds of interviews, and every time I would have an interview, I would tell myself that's not for me. I don't want to do that. You know, I just don't want to do it. Then when I finally sold it upon myself, they were going to call me back and you know, get me in with the CEO, and I think they said he had a baby, so naturally you don't do interviews when you're, you know, you just had a baby. So it wasn't that week that he called me, and I was like, now that I'm on board, he probably has given it to somebody else. That's why he hadn't called me. So it was, to me, a God thing, because God said, you think you don't want it, but let me let it, you know, let me let it fester over here for a minute. Let me let you think about it. And he gave me a lot of time to think about it when he wasn't calling me, because my mind was like, no, I want to do it. Like, I see why it's important for this area, and I've missed an opportunity. But no, that was God making me take time to think about that quick no. Like, because it was going to be a no. But he let me see that this is really something that could bring you out of your depression, could still keep you in real estate. You don't have to pivot like out of real estate, which that wasn't an option. Like, I love real estate. But at that moment, I was at the crossroads. Like, I didn't know where or what I wanted to do with real estate. And this allowed me to stay exactly doing what I'm doing, but add another component to it that pulls at my heartstrings, because I get to shine the light on other deserving agents through this magazine. So it became
almost
a
like
no-brainer.
a parent.
And this is now my new baby.
Right.
So so it has really done what it needed. You know, it's done for me what it needs to for my heart. You know. It's filled my tank back up. It gives me a purpose again. And
I know the agents, like I've seen like the agents, whenever you do the publication, you know, they get super excited, and everybody kind of like, you know, kind of encourages them, you know, you're deserving. And it seems like it's a pretty like there's not a lot of infighting there. It doesn't feel like it.
It's not.
You know, it's everybody's kind of like, hey,
when's
all
my
for
turn?
one.
Yeah, when is my turn to be sponsored or spotlighted?
How does that work? Like, do you just toss in names?
It's nominations. It's funny how this happened at first, though. When I was revamping the magazine, because again, it had been mainly in the Tyler area before.
Yeah.
So my Longview people didn't know much about it. My Tyler people, my Tyler agents, they knew all about it. So I didn't really have to sell it to them like I had to sell it to my Longview agents. So I would get in easily, of course, with my Longview agents because they know me. They're used to me.
Right.
My Tyler agents didn't know me as well, So I would make phone calls to reach out to agents to find out, hey, if I get this magazine back up, who do I need to spotlight? And they quickly gave me they could have said me. They were like, oh, you need to talk to this person, this person. And what warmed my heart was they were giving me people who were not even in their office. I can see if they say such and such in my office, but they were like, no, go look at this person. So I would call people that they would recommend and they wouldn't answer the phone. So I'm like, why am I having a hard, not that I didn't know why, because I'm an agent too. I know sometimes they have those egos where they don't answer the phone. So I would go to the ones that would pick up the phone and they'd be like, sure, I'll sit down and have a conversation with you. And so in my conversation, I would get content and I would start to make my list of who I wanted to feature when I got the okay to, go ahead and move forward with the magazine. So when I got the okay to move forward with the magazines, it's funny, but it's not funny. But the ones that did answer the phone, they were like, oh, wait, I think I missed something here. And it's like, I wish you had answered the phone when I called because now my content, and you know how that is when it's about scheduling. It's like now, because you didn't answer, I got to put you next year, And that, I saw a lot of that happening. And so when you reached out to me last year, I had just put out the badges. So Real Producers is a franchise. It's all over the United States. It's in over 140 markets. So my territory is East Texas Real Producers. So wherever it is, like Dallas has 3 magazines, so there'll be Dallas, Fort Worth, North Dallas, something like that. So wherever the territory is, that's what it's called. So they tell us what we need to do, what next steps we do as far as ramping up the magazine. And so when you reached out, I had just did the next step, which is putting out the badges. So they say, hey, you do this badge program just to let them know that they are a top 300. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, my agents are not going to care about a badge. I was wrong. They love that badge. They called me and they were like, well, do I get one? How do I get one?
It's another certification.
It is, but I didn't think they
some initials behind their name or whatever.
Right. So the agents are they are loving the magazine. They are loving us telling the story.
The articles are classy. I mean, they look really good. They depict the agents really well.
My writer is really good.
Writer's very good.
Yeah, she's
solid.
Good.
If I was in that market, I'd be super excited about it. Whether it was somebody I knew or it doesn't have to be me. Because it's for your business.
It is for your business. It is a third party promoting you, the agent, so that you don't have to brag about how fabulous you are. We do it for you.
That's awesome.
So they love that component of it, but they also love reading about other agents that maybe they didn't know. They only know transactionally, because sometimes we don't know each other other than
maybe
the name on the contract.
They special in farm,
or if you think about it, when you get that contract, you are with your client. You don't see that listing agent. And if y'all don't close together in a closing where everybody's in the same, they'll close separately with their client and you close with yours. So all you saw was that agent's name on that contract because they were the listing agent or they were the buyer's agent. So this is a way to humanize that agent other than a transaction, a name on the transaction. So I'm enjoying humanizing, letting everybody know what this agent does other than or be the rock star agent that they are, closing every day. This is what they do with their family. This is what they do on vacation. Like, these are the nonprofit organizations that they, support.
I saw that.
So it's all about telling the story behind the closing table, behind the transaction, and so they love it. Now, my it's free to them. a lot of people in the beginning probably were not answering their phone because they thought I'm one of those magazines that they have to pay to be in, because we get several calls and emails about that every day, all day. So I did have to prove myself and show them my work. That this is not a pay-to-play magazine. Now, how this magazine is sponsored is through my sponsors. My sponsors are the ones who pay for the magazine. And you ask, why would they pay for the magazine? Because they are advertised within the magazine. And most of the time, people that are trying to get in front of the real estate community, more than likely they go to the offices. So you know what happened after COVID? Nobody is in the office anymore.
Right.
They've learned how to work from their home offices that they now have to spend all this money in. So my advertisers are going to these different brokerages looking for these top agents, and they're not there because they're either in the field or at home. You may find a new agent there, but they want that business too, but they're after the top agents. So what I do with the magazine is I put them in front of there through our marketing. I'm like an extension of their marketing. Like I'm putting them in there in front of those agents who are picking up that magazine, because I mail it to the top 300 agents in this market.
Cool.
So it's in front. Their marketing is in front of them, and then I do quarterly events. I just had one 2 weeks ago, and then one at the end of the month I'm going to have, and they're there. So you don't have to go to every brokerage. Just come to the event and network with where the top agents are,
and because where they can fit with their business or their clients or whatever.
Absolutely. And so that's why they love it, is because I'm bringing together them with the top agents so that they can network and meet them, because you work with people you know and trust, right? So it's one thing to see advertisement, but when you're meeting that person at an event and you're like, oh my God, I've always heard of them, but I've never seen them in person. They are a great person. We have so much in common. I think I may start using them because I saw them, met them at an event, and
or you heard something bad about them from somebody else.
But
you meet them, you talk to them.
Exactly, your experience is different.
For
absolutely.
Sure.
And so that's one of the things that we do take pride in, is our invite-only events with the top producers as well as the affiliates who sponsor that magazine. It's because we can get those top agents in one place.
Is it a monthly magazine?
It is a monthly magazine.
So you're creating content once a month.
I am, once a month.
Which is an extra responsibility.
That is an extra
What's in it for you? Like, other than, I understand, I mean, giving back to the community and things like that, is there an incentive, or is there kind of like a certification?
No, there's no certification. In the end, I guess it depends on how big the magazine can be. I'm sure there'll be some incentive, Right now, it's, as you know, anything new, there's no incentive really,
trust
because
me, I know.
it goes toward your publishing cost and all that. So really, for me, it is about telling that story of that agent. And I call my real estate family, if you'll hear me say it on social media all the time, they're my real estate family, because there's a core group of people, especially in my area, that we talk, we text, we go out to eat. So they are my family. So 18 years in, I'm going into my 20th year next year. Like, these people. When something happened, like we had a recent agent that just passed last week, I used to work with her. And there's been, last year we had like several that passed, and I say several, it was at least 3, and that's still a lot. We know those people, we've worked with them. It is like they're our family. So it's me changing the narrative. We went through that whole situation last year where people had a bad, misconception about realtors. This is my way of turning that narrative around. So for me, that's what's feeling. I don't want somebody to come in and give my industry a black eye. And we have a lot of those actors out there. We have people doing bad business, people that give us a bad name, reality show agents that give us a bad name. It's my way of turning that narrative around to say, no, I know what you saw, but let me show you the real reality of what these people do. They are stellar people, rock stars. They have been nominated by their peers because there's something special about them that we need you to put in this magazine. So that is what's in it for me, is being able to hopefully turn the image of the industry around. I would love to get Longview agents and Tyler agents, I say playing in the sandbox together, because I need them to see this is who this person is. And Longview, this is who this Tyler agent is, so that we can,
enhance the whole customer experience.
It does.
That's really what it
really
does.
Yeah. It does. And that's my goal. That's what's in it for me.
Yeah, cool. So I think we've covered like lessons learned and setbacks and all that good stuff. What's next for your brokerage? I mean, obviously you're still growing your magazine, right? And you want to grow it and tie these markets together and all that good stuff. But you don't want to be one-dimensional. That's what you mentioned to me in our conversations prior to this. So what's new, or what kind of ideas or things are you?
So as far as my brokerage goes, still want to be that place that especially new agents can go to if they feel like they're not receiving what they want to receive at another brokerage or whatever the case may be. I'm still going to be an educator. I'm still going to put them in with good mentors that can help them build the foundation of their business. So like I told you before, I have a great team. I have people that are helping me with the onboarding of agents, and just the agents that I have, my core group of agents, they are very supportive and can help me with that educational piece and keeping the agent motivated. Again, they have to have that within them. I can't teach the motivation part, but I can definitely put them in the spaces that's going to help them, grow their business. Same for the magazine. What I want is to grow it. Last year was the trial year for me, is what I call it. Now, the second year of me putting out the badges was phenomenal. Like, it was, I had a little bit of, phone calls and, why am I not on it? How can I be on it?
Yeah.
But this year it was like, it went crazy. It was like, I was fielding a lot of calls, but explaining, how we work. And one of the things that we are doing to celebrate them is we're having an event, toward the end of the month. And the other day, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I actually put the invite out to that. Not thinking anything about it because I'm going to send it and leave it. And I got on a phone call and I heard all the notifications coming through, and I'm like, what is going on? Get off the phone an hour later, and 50 people had already RSVP'd for the event, because they're hungry for something and an environment where, for one, they can thrive. There's other people just like them, and they want to be celebrated. I mean, we do want to be celebrated.
But they
for
probably
our
also
work.
have teachers like yourself that are saying, hey, this is something you need to kind of, you need to
like
think
the
about.
brokers are excited about it too. Like
Yeah.
they called me. That was a lot of the calls that I got last week and the last couple of days. They want to make sure all their agents are accounted for so that they can put, a big, announcement on their social medias, because
Correct.
it looks good.
100% participation or whatever.
These are the agents that I have for my office that, made that list, because that must mean we're doing something great over here.
Right.
So it is something for the broker. And I do have spaces in the magazine where I'll spotlight a broker. That's a great thing for them too, because that's a marketing piece for them.
Sure.
Maybe something about their story resonates with an agent that maybe they're not happy with their office, or maybe they're thinking about a change for whatever reason, and something about that article resonated with them. So now I'm introducing new brokers to new agents. So I love the connection part of this piece. I
do
love
too.
being a
I like
connector.
it.
I even love that as a broker. I'm going to always connect my clients with the right people, if they need it. And it doesn't even have to be real estate related. They can call me and ask me because they feel like I know a lot of people because I'm always in the community. It could be something totally not real estate related, and I like having the answer. I like saying I got a guy for that. It's that part of it.
It's such a unique job. It's I can't really think of anything that's similar to it, especially from the compensation side of things.
Right.
Like you're representing someone, so you could relate it to like maybe a lawyer in some ways.
I don't want to insult them, but we do feel like that, especially after we passed those exams. We feel like we took the bar, but no disrespect to the attorneys, but that is right. You're representing somebody.
And then if and then at the end of the day, like if your customer is not real sure, then there could be a lot of work done for no real like tangible results, which can be frustrating.
Right.
One of my friends' wives showed like over 40 houses, and that's a lot of time and effort, and they got, eventually it happened, but a lot of changing the minds and changing, when you start seeing dollar signs, then your expectations change, and it's just it's you got to be very patient, understanding. You got to be educated. There's a lot of you got to be dynamic,
right,
in order to be successful in what you do.
You got to be dynamic. You got to make sure that you are giving your client something of value, and sometimes that value can be helping them understand and navigate this contract. Like that contract is not.
Yeah.
You couldn't. I'm sure some people can navigate through it, but if you slid that contract and just said sign, they're not going to understand what it is that they're doing. So a lot of what you're doing is advocating for them.
Yeah.
You're helping them find the right deal, the right, circumstance, situation for that particular client and property. So you have to always provide something of value. And one way to do that is staying educated on not just the field, but your area. Like you need to know what's coming. What is there a highway coming behind this neighborhood? Is there,
right.
You need to know all the things. And, being of value is what the one thing that I'm teaching is be of value.
Yep.
Make sure you're educated and make sure that when that client closes 6 months later, they can pick up the phone and call you and find out who do they talk to at the tax office for this letter they got.
Yeah.
Just knowing the ins and outs of all things.
Right.
You just have to know. And I know this is not a political situation, but you do have to keep up with that. Like
Sure.
you need to know what's going on in the world. You need to know what the interest rates are, because the first thing that people are going to ask you is either going to be what's the interest rates or how's the market.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be stumbling trying to, I don't know because I hadn't checked. You need to always be ready to give them the information that they're seeking. And that shows you as the go-to agent when you know your stuff, whether you got a computer in front of you or not.
Yeah, like we put in a pool last year, and I called my friend, said, I know that I'm not going to make any money here,
That's right.
but is this? How bad a decision is this? And they were like, it's. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all he said, was
That's
just
it.
enjoy it. And you know what? You get out of it what you get out of it. That's what you got to think about.
Right.
And but that's free advice and somebody that I'll definitely look to
Absolutely,
when it's
you
time.
have another question.
Yeah, or if we want to buy, some
Somewhere.
raw land, or if we want to sell our property or whatever it is. That's what you earn.
Right.
Through those moments.
You earn that, and you earn a network of agents. If you're that one that's going out, meeting people, going to events, going to conferences, you're meeting agents that are in your area. I just connected an agent. She called me from Alaska. One of her agents was looking for someone in Quitman. Well, I don't go that far.
Yeah.
But because I network with agents in that area, of course, I did go online to the real estate network group, and I said, hey, who handles Quitman? But when they gave me the list, I said, yes, I know that person.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to recommend. So we are recommending agents in other cities, not just around here. Like we are charged with knowing a lot of things and knowing people so that we can be a connector, because more than likely our people are going to move in another area. Yeah. Why not connect them with a top agent in whatever area they're going to? So we do have a lot of responsibility, and we get, sometimes we get a bad image, and people's perception of us are bad, like we're just, out for money, but a lot of us are not. Like you may find one or two like that, but the majority of us are not that way.
And most sellers, if you sell my house in a day, I'm happy.
I know,
because
right?
I'd rather that
That's
happen
right.
than you sell it, in 500 days. So there's something there to weigh out.
Right. Right.
So before we get to shout outs, I'd be remiss to not ask, what do you think? What do you think about the market right now?
I think it's about to turn around from where it has been the last year. Last year, a lot of agents surprised themselves because they thought, oh my God, it was such a slow year. I think things are about to kind of turn around. It's not going to be what it was before the frenzy where everything had multiple offers, although we are seeing some of those back again,
You
multiple
still
offers.
see it in the big cities.
Well, we're seeing it around here too. If it's
Really?
a good property and it's priced right, there hadn't been a lot of things on the market because sellers were still kind of scared and they wanted to wait the market
they were
out.
locked in.
Yeah, and they are locked in. You know, why move when I got this good rate? So they've been kind of on the fence about selling, trying to see what the market is going to do. So when you only have a couple of those properties on the market where the seller either had to sell because they had to move or whatever the case was, you have a market of people that is looking at that one house because they don't have many options. So I can see where you have the multiple offers because the good houses are what we have to choose from. So, you know, we'll have multiple offers on that. But I think people are going to come back out, put their houses on the market. Not sure exactly what the interest rate is where it's gonna land, but I think it's gonna get better.
It's gonna get a little bit better.
Yeah, it's gonna get better.
A lot of people don't realize how good the interest rate is compared to
where
years ago.
Yes.
Like everybody's thinking it's gonna get back to 2. It's just not gonna get there.
No.
It's never gonna be. It probably never will be.
Yeah, that was
it was
weird
just very unique time. And so, you know, 5 is good.
Yeah,
6 is good.
It is.
I think my parents we bought a house in like 88, and their interest rate was like 15.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's
13
what
to 15.
we've been promoting that. Like this is not as bad as it has been.
Right.
You guys are just looking at the fact that at one time it was at a 3 and a 2, and you jumped on that.
Yeah.
And now a lot are scared to go from a 3 to current day interest rate, so they are kind of just waiting. But I think we're educating them a little bit more to say, hey, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, find you a house that will get you the payment that you're comfortable with, because you're just not going to get that to, you know, again. So I think that through education that agents are doing, I think they're starting to see, you're right, we're tired of either being in this big house because the kids are gone, or we're tired of being in the small house and it's time to, you know, upgrade. So they're starting to listen.
And the thing is like, you know what the interest rate is today. So like, why try to forecast a year out or 6 months out or depend on other people to move that bar? Just prepare yourself to do it. So do what you need to do, whether that's fixing things up or you know, make it more marketable, or just say invest in the agent and say, hey, this is the dollar amount, and then if you say that's not possible, then you got to deal with it.
And that's basically kind of how I go into it. I'm like, where are you comfortable with your payment? And I'll get them with the right mortgage lender and let them handle the finance part of it. And then I tell them, you know, talk to that mortgage lender about where you feel comfortable with your payment, and let's go out and find that. That way, I'm not looking at the top of your budget knowing that's not where your payment that you want to pay. Let's get you more in line with where you feel comfortable. Let's accept this is what's out here. And, you know, we set the expectation in the beginning. So once you go out there, you won't waste too much of your gas taking them to stuff that they know is outside of their budget. So
we built 3 years ago during COVID. That teaches you a lot of lessons.
It does, because wasn't that when the lumber was high?
So like lumber went up significantly, and then we waited and it dipped down, and then we bought our framing package right then. So the difference between what we were going to order and what we ordered was about $30,000.
Wow.
That's how much it changed.
It was a
and
mess.
so we just we caught it fortunately, but the trouble we ran into is like, we'd have the framing crew, somebody get COVID, and then the whole crew had to quarantine. And so then it took us 9 months to build instead of 6, and which is, you know, it is what it is. Like, we love what we have because we built it. It was a custom home, so we got to do everything we wanted.
Gotcha.
Which is a whole unique experience.
I've been there, done that.
I can do a whole podcast on that.
I've been
Trust
there,
me.
done that too.
Yeah, when you start with architect, which architects are not cheap.
No.
Much more than I thought. And everything was a lot more than I thought. But luckily, we were in a very good situation.
Did you contract it out? Or did you have a builder to do it all?
We had a builder.
Okay. Yeah. We didn't contract out. We said, here, builder.
Yeah.
Here's our budget.
Yeah. And luckily, the builder was a friend. So it was an optimal situation.
Good.
And the builder let us buy a lot of things on our own, which a lot of builders don't do, which I understand why. I mean, they're they need to make their money too.
Right.
And then the builder we picked, their specialty was concrete, which is a huge thing for your build. If that gets done right, then your house is going to last a long time. So we kind of won there, and then we were able to order a bunch of stuff off Amazon, because at the time, like, you'd go to like a bathroom place and you'd look at, faucets and stuff, and they're like, well, it's 6 weeks wait and stuff. And we're like, we don't
There
have.
was a lot of backlog back then, yes.
So like we were just ordering on Amazon, which, people can be upset about, not shopping locally, but like that's what our options were. So door handle, but you don't think about, like, you're ordering everything from the tip of the roof. So the shingles,
color,
shingles,
everything,
all the way to the drain, and everything.
Yes.
And so it's and I didn't really. I think the one thing I was so naive about, I didn't really understand the concept of elevation.
Right.
Because you see a 2D thing,
I didn't
or
have that,
maybe
yeah.
a 3D, and you're like, this looks like a normal house, and then they start building, and then your roof is like, or your ceiling's like, 25 foot high, and you're like, holy smokes, I did not know we were going to heat and cool this many cubic feet.
Yes, I get it, because I didn't have the 3D then. It was just a floor plan.
Yeah.
But I wanted a large closet, and I looked at it on there. It's like, yep, that's the size. But then when I started framing, I'm like, that's not the size.
Yeah.
So yes, did all that, but it's like what you said. We had to pick everything, and I got overwhelmed because I was like, I gotta tell you what color knobs and all the things.
Yeah.
But it was a fun experience.
My wife was the most decisive she's ever been. Shout out to her, because she, you go to dinner and like, I don't know where I want to go and stuff like that. No, super decisive. Like, I want that, this, vessel sink. I want that. It was fun for her. She had a good time doing it, and but it was very interesting. The other thing I'll say, just for content purposes, is your concrete guy has to be good, guy or girl. Your framers have to be really good, because precision is very important, especially for cabinetry and stuff like that. And then your trim guy has to be really good, trim guy or girl, because that's where you can make your wife very happy, because those little notches and the little shelves and your closet space and making shoe area and all pull-outs and all that stuff. Our guy was really quirky, but him and my wife hit it off. They were best friends, and it was just
what she needed.
Difference maker.
Yes.
This guy can, make the spice rack and all that stuff.
It matters.
All those wishes.
It matters.
Were granted. So very much appreciated. I don't even remember his name. I think his name was Tim, but he's a great trim guy. Great trim guy. All right, shout outs.
Well, first, I want to thank my team that has my back through all the pivots, and I love how they jump in, especially with new agents, especially when I was running with my kids. They had my back, and they had the business. So I love my agents. They're true gems. But in no particular order. Definitely my husband. He's been super supportive of all the changes, all the attitudes, all the sadness, all the stress. He takes it like a champ. Yeah. Of course, my kids, for allowing me to, be able to, sometimes I'm on the computer late. Sometimes I'm out showing late, and they, it took them a while to get that first, because they were little at the time, and they're like, why are you always gone? Or why do we have to sit in the car while you show houses? So glad all that worked out, but they were super supportive of me. And last but not least, and I know I've left people out in that, but my entire family, like that could be cousins. They were my biggest cheerleaders, but no one was the bigger cheerleader more than my brothers. They did a lot of legwork for me, especially when I opened my brokerage, as far as setting up my office. And my parents, they pray for me. They encourage me. They get me out of my slumps when I'm, beating myself up. They know just the words to say. They know what Bible and verse, what chapter and verse to give me. And they have helped me through a lot of the ups and downs of both real estate and magazine. Because
Yeah.
magazine is just as tough. You know, people see the end result, but they don't see the no's, the door slams. They don't see the things that, you know, that goes into putting in that magazine. And so just my family and my parents,
That's cool.
my brothers, my
Yeah.
husband.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for taking time.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm on this side over here asking you the questions, creating content, and about what you do.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you give back to
Yes.
you know, these new agents and the ones that are in the top 300.
Yes.
You know, that's a step that a lot of people, it's a selfless act. And I appreciate you doing that. You probably don't get that very often, but maybe you do. I don't know, but I think it's unique, and I think it needs to be recognized. And that's why I wanted you to come on.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.